Okay, so you know that feeling. It's the middle of the night, everything's dead quiet. You were completely asleep. And then out of nowhere, you're awake. No alarm, no sound, no obvious reason. You turn your head, look at the clock, and it says something weirdly specific, like 3:07 or 2:58 or 3:22, and somehow it always feels like the same little window. Close enough that after a while it stops feeling random. It starts feeling deliberate, like your body is trying to interrupt you on purpose. And most people brush it off. Bad luck, stress, maybe you drank too much water, maybe the room was too hot. And sure, sometimes it is something small. But that's not the whole story, because that specific window of the night is actually one of the most revealing moments in your entire sleep cycle. Your body is doing very specific things around that time. And once you understand them, those strange wake ups stop feeling random. They start feeling like messages. The first thing to understand is that your body is not sleeping the same way all night. Most people imagine sleep like one long shutdown, like you close your eyes, black screen, and then morning. But that's not what happens. Your body moves through stages again and again, and each cycle changes the deeper into the night you go. Early in the night, your sleep is usually heavier. Later on, it gets lighter, and that matters more than people think, because by the time you reach that 3 a.m.-ish window, your body is often in a more fragile stage of sleep. You are easier to wake, easier to disturb, easier to pull back into consciousness over something that normally wouldn't even register. And that already makes the whole thing a lot less mysterious, because suddenly, waking up around that hour is not some bizarre personal curse. It might just be the point in the night where your sleep is naturally easier to break, but that still doesn't explain why it feels so specific, why it feels like your body keeps choosing that one moment. And this is where it gets interesting, because while you are asleep, your body is quietly preparing for morning way earlier than you think. It doesn't wait until your alarm goes off to start changing gears. Hormones begin shifting. Your internal clock starts moving. Your body temperature changes. Certain signals begin rising to slowly pull you toward wakefulness. So even though it still feels like the middle of the night to you, your body may already be starting the earliest part of its climb back upward. Not enough to fully wake you every time, but enough that if one small thing goes wrong, you suddenly pop awake and feel way more alert than you should. That's why these wake-ups can feel so aggressive. You were asleep 1 second, and the next second your brain is weirdly online. Not fully rested, not calm, just awake enough to think. And once that happens, your mind can become the real problem. Because the moment you notice you are awake, your thoughts start moving fast. Why am I up? What time is it? Am I going to be exhausted tomorrow? Why does this always happen? And now, what could have been a tiny wake up turns into a full event. Not because the wake up itself was huge, but because your brain grabbed onto it and made it huge. That's the part a lot of people don't realize. Waking up briefly in the night is not always abnormal. What makes it feel awful is when your brain fully joins the conversation. And around that time of night, it often does. There's something about being awake in total darkness, with no distractions, no daytime noise, no tasks to snap you out of it. That makes every thought feel louder. Even normal thoughts sound heavy at that hour. A small worry suddenly feels massive. A random memory feels loaded. A simple thought like, I need to sleep, becomes the exact thing that keeps you awake. But then there are the boring triggers, the little things people don't want the answer to, because they're not dramatic enough. Maybe your room is slightly too warm. Maybe you had alcohol earlier, and it helped you fall asleep, but then it made your sleep break apart later. Maybe your bladder filled just enough to nudge you out of lighter sleep. Maybe stress has already made your sleep shallower than usual. Maybe you've been checking the clock every night so often that your brain now expects something to happen in that exact window. People want the answer to be hidden and deep, but a lot of the time, it's your body hitting a lighter stage of sleep at the exact same time a tiny trigger shows up. And that combination is powerful, because on its own, the trigger might not matter. On its own, the lighter sleep stage might not matter, but together they create the perfect setup. Your sleep is lighter. Your body is already shifting. And one tiny push is all it takes. That's why it feels so weirdly consistent. Not because your body is malfunctioning, but because your pattern is consistent. Your bedtime is probably similar. Your sleep stages are landing in similar places. Your routine is similar. So the wake up keeps returning to the same zone. But what makes this even worse is what you do after. Because the second you check the time, the whole thing changes. You are no longer just awake. Now you are measuring it, tracking it, turning it into proof. Again? Seriously? Then comes the math. If I sleep now, I still get 4 hours. Then the panic. If I don't sleep now, tomorrow is ruined. This is where a simple body event turns into a mental spiral. And the more often that happens, the more your brain begins linking that time of night with alertness, frustration, and pressure. That is how a pattern gets stronger. Your body starts waking a little. Your brain takes over. And after enough repeats, the whole routine becomes familiar. You expect it. You fear it. You almost rehearse it without realizing. So now it's not just biology anymore. It's biology plus anticipation. And that is a nasty combo because anticipation can wake you almost as effectively as noise. This is also why some people say the wake up feels instant and emotionally loaded, like they wake with a strange sense of tension already there. That can happen when stress is involved. If your nervous system has been running high in the background, even if you're not thinking about it all day, sleep often becomes more fragile. Your body may fall asleep, but it doesn't fully let go. So when you hit those lighter parts of the night, it doesn't take much to pull you back up. And once you are awake, the stress that stayed buried during the day suddenly has a quiet room to speak in. Now, none of this means every 3 a.m. wake up is harmless. If it keeps happening over and over, if you feel exhausted every day, if you wake gasping, if your sleep feels broken no matter what you do, then that is worth paying attention to. But for a lot of people, the wild truth is less dramatic than they expected and more useful than they expected. Your body is not randomly betraying you at 3 a.m. It is following a pattern, a very human pattern. Your sleep gets lighter, your system starts shifting. One small trigger appears, your brain wakes up too fast, and now you're staring at the ceiling thinking the night singled you out, when really your body was just doing exactly what bodies do. And honestly, once you see it that way, the whole thing changes. That hour stops feeling cursed. It stops feeling mysterious in a bad way. It becomes something you can actually read, something you can work with. Because the truth is, your body usually is not trying to ruin your night. It is just revealing how sensitive your sleep really is. And that strange little wake-up window you keep noticing, that might be one of the clearest signs your body has been following the same script all along. If this changed the way you think about those weird 3 a.m. wake-ups, subscribe. This channel is all about the hidden signals your body sends every single day and what they actually mean. So if you want more videos like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.